what mistakes she didn't want to make a second time, or what things she wanted to try that were different, why she fell for certain things. Again, we need more of an understanding of Lenora around that episode in her life. Melanie, I'm going to ask you now to offer feedback to either of these wonderful writers. Whoever is on the top of your list or your pile of manuscripts.
So that would be Pam, right?
Go for it.
So, all right. So I'm getting into the flow of the story. I'm keeping track of people a little better. It feels like there's a good flow, consistency. I feel like your story has a really good balance of dialogue with thoughts and actions, which I'm trying to pay attention to that so that I can learn from that for my story. Let's see. At the beginning of the chapter, when the sheriff shows up, Poppy apparently did not at first, it didn't occur to her right away that was an uh-oh moment, which did strike me as odd because the whole family is completely swirling in this disaster that's just been revealed to them. So, and I don't think it would necessarily change the story at all for her to also have a moment of what's going on, assuming she didn't know the sheriff was coming. Let's see. On page 10, this is a teeny thing, but because I don't have lots of feedback on your story of things that struck me as maybe something to focus on. So Lenora says, speaking of bear, what's up with you two? Which I thought for a 95-year-old felt, and also with her other dialogue throughout the story, felt like an odd turn of phrase. Again, that's so minor. Then on page 11, when...
Excuse me, Melanie?
Yes.
I just wanted to add, it may be minor, but if it takes the reader out of the story, that's important.
I was just picturing like my grandma saying, "What's up?" It would be like, "What?
Or, stop."
Okay. So,
simple fix. What's happening with you two? What's going on with you two? Just change the verb. Yeah.
Yeah. On page 11, on the second paragraph, just like when she was a little girl, upset with her mother, Iris. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, wait a minute. So then I was wondering, because Lenora has two daughters, Rose and Iris. Now, because I'm somewhat new to your story, I'm wondering, are they still alive? And do they know, or should they know? And if they don't know, why they aren't a part of the family circle that's being brought in on this secret? Because they've lost just as much in this scenario as Maisie and Robin. So, and I hadn't really thought about her two daughters until that moment in the story. So I don't know. I'm not sure what's happening with them at this moment.
But they're invisible, but they need to not be. They need to be thought about. You're right. Yep.
That was really the only like maybe bigger thing in the story in this chapter that I was curious about. But I think it's moving along, consistently. It's interesting, and I'm feeling the feels with the family, and yeah.
it's important that their absence is raising an alert for Melanie.
Mhm.
Why aren't they in the story? At least give us a good reason that they aren't.
Right.
And it would be interesting to know why they aren't. Why did they leave? And what does that say about the family and the family dynamic that's now being tested by this situation? Because that's what it's all about ultimately. It's what happens when a horrible secret rears its ugly head in a close-knit family. And so we want to know about those people that aren't present and why they're not present. So something to think about. You might want to develop them a little bit more, even if you're going to explain them away later.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Alex, your thoughts?
Yeah, likewise. I mirror what you both said. This is a good chapter with just tons of potential for like really deep thoughts and emotions and reflections. Because this is the day, unless I'm misreading it, it's the day after she told her whole family.
Yes.
Right. It's like, so they had the night to sleep on it, and then they wake up the next day, and then the sheriff shows up. So it's still fresh, but that one night of sleep can change things, and I think that's worth, like, where is she today as opposed to yesterday? And I agree with Melanie that I think at the beginning it'd be worth just having a little moment where she's looking out the window and thinking, good Lord, what do I do now? Like whatever, I don't know, and then the logistically, I think the kids, everybody in that family would drop work, relationship stuff, fires to be in that room when the sheriff shows up to find out what's happening to their grandmother. They would not leave. And so I would just have them already be gone, and that way it's her and the sheriff, and then just keep it simple. And then they show up after the fact, and then she could say, well, he was just here. And they're like, what? We wanted to be here, and, whatever. I don't know, because the logistics of them leaving and then coming back, and it's easier just to have them be gone and then show up later. Because I think the interaction with the sheriff should be one-on-one. I think it's easiest that way because it's a difficult one. I'll come back to the sheriff in a bit. But I think, in general, I wanted more reflection from Lenora in this chapter. This is a reflection chapter for me. The big moment of the book has just happened. This is the climb. This is the moment after the climax. This is it. This is the point. The whole book is led to this section right here. This chapter and the next 3-ish, whatever. And again, without reading the previous 22 chapters, it's hard to feel the arc. But from what I can gather, this is the climactic moment, and this is a time for reflection a little, and a time for this weird action because she might get arrested and so on, and also a time to not resolve anything. Like, this is the central conflict of the book, and it's finally been blown open, and that's just going to create more tension that's going to add and make things worse and more difficult, and like, let that tension simmer and build. I kind of get that the sheriff is all like, look, you're an old woman, you've been here, you've lived here forever, like, side of the hand, you're white also, so like, we're gonna just kind of let it go, like, because this is the South, so there might be a component of that. At the end of the day, it's like, I'm okay with that they're not going to press charges, essentially, but it's because it's the point of the chapter right now, it pulls all the tension out, right? And so I would make her maybe not care too much, or maybe expect that because she knows the sheriff already, or she understands the legal system in a tiny little town and so on, that she's like, they're not going to do anything to me. And when he says that to her, she's like, okay, good. Like, fine. Like I was expecting that, and maybe be like, oh, I'm so surprised, you know, like just for his sake. But at the end of the day, the problem is with her and her family and her kids and her grandkids, and you know, and the sheriff is incidental. Like he's kind of just there. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, Celeste, but
No, I was going to say it may be that as a way, she almost wants to be arrested because she has such great guilt that this might in some way be what she deserves, or she feels she deserves. So I wouldn't that's something to at least explore. I mean, it would be a way of dealing with it where she could, you know, take responsibility, literally take responsibility for the act. And it could be upsetting to her that they won't even, or that they won't let her, because she still now has to do it on her own. How do I do it? They're letting me off, but can I let myself off the hook? I don't think I can. I also just want to say one more thing before Alex continues. I think he let Robin give her a break too early. I think it's obvious that she loves her, Lenora, but I wouldn't have her saying it at this point. I would have her still upset. I think that needs to go on a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So that was my only other thing. But continue, Alex. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's I really like that thought. Yeah, she's so guilty she wants to be arrested. I think that's a really interesting way to go. And then when he does it, she's sort of let down. It's like, well, now I have to flagellate myself and like go around the streets and, you know, do the penitence. And I don't know, you know, I mean, again, it comes into her religious beliefs maybe a little too, because that, you know, that might be something that might come in here. Life and death situations would bring that up. Yeah, but I think, yeah, this is a chapter for reflection and to build the tension, to make it worse, to make it stronger, to make it, you know, like this is not a moment to resolve the tension. It should probably never be resolved on some level. Even when the book is finished, and there should probably be a little bit of like, oh no, I still did this, you know, like it should never go away. Because now it's in the open and she sort of has to reflect on it. And
the question becomes, what do you want to say about guilt and forgiveness? Now, I should let you guys know that Pam has moved slightly in a different direction. Do you want to explain what you told me before the meeting today, Pam?
Originally, I had Lenora intending to kill the mobster, but I've since changed. She's impulsive and she accidentally kills him. She wants to hurt him. She wants to make him sick. So what she threw, and I changed it from bloodroot to belladonna, and she puts too much of it in the mixture of tea, and they die. But she intended to just maybe make him really sick, to make him not want to be part of their family, to make him not want to do business, to she was just mad at him. So she doesn't intend to. So the premise, because originally she calculatingly goes out to her shed and gets this poison, well, what can be poisonous, and tries to kill him and accidentally kills her husband and brother-in-law. But now I've changed it to more accidental because it's hard to justify forgiveness for intentional murder. And I'm not sure how her family would react to that. It's not like she murdered a stranger. She murdered their father and uncle.
I think that does change it to a certain extent.
As far as making her want to be arrested, it doesn't work that well for me, only because Lenore is a very successful businesswoman who's built a business. Her fear now lies in her family abandoning her, and she is going to talk about in the next chapter, but I might move it to this. What is this going to do to Lensie's? Because Robin's in control of the business. Robin runs the business. She's retired. What's going to happen to the business for Robin if they find out the founder made poison tea? the business is gonna collapse. And so she has that fear as well as her fear of her family abandoning her.
But she can harbor two different emotions at once. In a way, it would have been easier, and maybe she could think, in a way, it would have been easier if they had just taken her away. But she had to look, but Lenore knew she had to look after the family. So even though it was harder in this way, she had to
That's
fight.
true. She would say that the notoriety that came from a public arrest would, could spiral out and would drive the business into the ground. That would work. Okay.
This is a tough one. It is.
I'm feeling this isn't what I was thinking previously, but I'm feeling like a conflict between her, and I don't know her character well enough because I haven't read the rest of the book, but it seems like there's a conflict between her being an extremely, like, almost harshly rational person who's only interested in money and the business and so on, and somebody who's like super concerned about how her family thinks of her. And and I think both can be true at once, but I'm feeling like, because there were a couple moments in this chapter where her reaction was extremely practical to the point of making me think I want more reflection and emotion from her, because I wasn't sure how she's feeling about suddenly sort of revealing all this to her family and then them blowing back on her, and then and then her potentially being arrested, and like everything was very practical, and maybe that's just her character, right? And in which case, I think by chapter 22, the reader would get it, But coming in fresh, I definitely thought like she'd be more emotional about this, right? Anyway, so that was a totally like outsider's moment there.
So this brings up something interesting. The bottom line is she spent the last 70 years trying to make up for this death by pulling this family together out of the potential for poverty, out of making a life for them that's good. And so she's directed everything to this, everything. And she's really let her emotions, she's repressed a lot of that, I believe.
Buried them. Yeah.
Okay.
That needs to show.
Okay.
Yeah, fair enough. And either works. I kind of like the idea that she's a very sort of practically minded, pragmatic. She's the one who makes the money, and therefore she's taken on that role and so on.
Is
Melany?
it possible that it's like competence and incompetence? Like she's highly competent, but that mistake was incompetent? Just a thought. And if she has repressed this, which would make sense, maybe she remembers some fresh details that she had forgotten about for a very long time as she's telling her family.
Like I should have put in more belladonna. Damn, why did I get that wrong? So again, true to character. And Pam, that speaks to maybe developing her character a little bit more from an earlier age, at least in your mind. How she came into the marriage, how she came into the relationship with her husband, and revisiting that a little bit, what their dynamic was before he died, and some of her regrets that are tied to that as well, and to this stupid mistake that she made. That would be my mom. She'd go, damn it, I should have put more Peloton. She would have been really ticked off that she didn't get the formula right. Of course, she'd have some regret, maybe, depending on the person. But I mean, I think these are really good things to think about and ways to deepen that character, because she needs a little bit more depth. And through both books, this is the second of two books about Lenore. So she needs a little bit more going on there. And, even if it's just pushing down, and we see this pushing down of these thoughts. And also that brings to mind the one relationship she did have after her husband, you need to develop that a little bit further too, the intricacies of that to show what mistakes she didn't want to make a second time, or what things she wanted to try that were different, why she fell for certain things. Again, we need more of an understanding of Lenora around that episode in her life.
Okay.
So, things to think about. All about character development. Alex, further thoughts?
A couple little ones. There was it's in a couple moments here and there where I think you can sort of listen to the signals from your subconscious that speak through the characters occasionally. Let's see, on the bottom of page 3, assuming I haven't shifted stuff, because I do put notes at the top, so it ends up shifting everything. But Stark says, "My name comes from my childhood game." And then Lenora, her eyes widen with surprise and confusion. And this is definitely one of those signals from the subconscious where the character is speaking for the reader, where the reader is surprised and confused, and the character says it, and this happens pretty often. Actually, it just happened to me in a chapter I was doing a revision on, where the reader is kind of like, wait, what? Why would he say that? That doesn't make sense, right? And so they're surprised and confused, right? And then the character's telling you, the writer, there's surprising confusion here that should be solved, right? There's a few sort of moments like that where, like, there's something told that might as well just be shown first, and then if you don't need to tell it, you don't need to tell it, right? If it's shown fully enough, there's no need to do the telling. There's no need to have the sort of the obvious, like, explanation, because the scene already described it, the description already described it, or whatever, but basically, like, let the showing speak for itself. And only if necessary have the explanation come, but figure out the gesture that creates the emotional reaction without naming the emotion. And that way it's not too on the nose,
Yeah. This is definitely a weakness I have. I do that. And when I revise, I find that I'm deleting so many of telling things, so I just got to keep at it. But thank you for catching this. I know I got to do it again.
Fair enough. I mean, it's in draft even 4, you're still like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, the only other thing was the sheriff. I feel like the sheriff, I think he seemed a little callow. It's like it was his first day on the job. Like, he's super nervous, and, like, he's putting his hat on the table, like, which seems a little. And then he's going to the kitchen to pull up to like, he's not asking permission. And this is the South, right? Like, he'd need to ask for permission to go into another room with a 95-year-old woman there he's talking to, and I don't know. It's like his reactions to things seems like somebody. It's like almost like his first day on the job. When I would make him, even if he isn't, I would make him an experienced cop. Like, he's been sheriff for a decade and a half in this town. He knows everybody. He knows her. I don't know. Maybe I'm misreading.
Well, let me ask you this then. He doesn't know her because Lenora doesn't live in that town, but she did for a while. She left when she was 21, but her family lived there, so she's forced back again. It's a long story, but so she comes back to do an interview about her business. That's why she's there. But Stark grew up with Kurt and his best friend Bear. So he's been at Robin's house ever since he was a kid. So he's comfortable with the family. He knows Poppy, but he doesn't know Lenora. So is there still a point where you think he should still be more polite with Lenora? Because he doesn't know Lenora, but he does know that house and everything in it.
Okay, I think that explains it. Yeah, because I was imagining that this was his, maybe not first time in the house, but potentially, but he's known the whole family, including her, forever. So that change definitely changes my comment.
So do you think I should show more hints when he's coming in that he is familiar there, that shows he's comfortable? Would that make it more?
Yeah, maybe just as a reminder to the reader. I'd say even if if previous chapters have explained it, then you can minimize that. But
Okay.
just
Probably
the quicker
not. Just
for
introduce
the
him.
reader to just be like, he's been here before, and Lenora can just think that, right? She can think like, I don't know this guy, but I think he was friends with Kurt, maybe, or whatever.
Okay.
Maybe I'll ask more about that. I don't know,
Okay. Yep.
So okay, that explains it. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Great.
So let me ask you a question, Pam. Why does he come in with Kurt?
I think because he says, I know Alton, I know Kurt. He calls Kurt and says, look, your brother's saying some crazy crap, about your grandma. And Kurt's like, why don't you come talk to my grandmother? Because Kurt knows it's not crazy talk, it's real.
Then why does Kurt go in the other room and not support his grandmother, even if it's just?
Because I think he thinks that maybe grandma wants to talk to. It's easier I think he thinks he's doing the right thing by letting the sheriff talk to him alone, because he knows the sheriff. He's not an authoritative figure in his mind, because he knows he's there to get more information. I guess it doesn't occur to him that he's going to arrest him.
To me, it felt like he was just
abandoning her. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know
Well,
anyone else.
If they came together, he could have told Kurt. Stark could have told Kurt,
Right.
I'm not arresting your mom. I'm not arresting your grandma. We really don't have enough we don't have to charge her. There's no real evidence here. So
Yeah, that's what I was assuming.
I'll have to figure out
I'm
a way
gonna have
to
to
get
talk
that
with
across.
her, but
Okay. I have
But
to
that's
figure out a way to get that across, because Lenora wouldn't hear that. It's her point of view. It's that third person limited thing. But yeah.
well, there could just be an awkward moment when the two of them show up, or just not have Kurt be there at all, right? I mean, that's the
That's
easiest
true,
thing. But if
maybe.
it's the two of them, then have that a sort of awkward moment when the transition's going to happen, and then Stark looks at Kurt and sort of nods at him, and Kurt says, "Okay, I'll go."
Okay.
That kind of thing.
Okay.
I'll go upstairs for the next few minutes.
Mhm.
I think in some way it needs to be addressed.
Okay. Fair enough.
All right. Anything else, Alex?
No, that was pretty much it. Yeah.
Right.
Not crying. That's that last little. Not crying can be more powerful than crying.
Okay. Okay.
It's a good rule of thumb, we should all follow.
All
unless
right.
it's a child, unless there's, there's definitely reasons too. But this was one where I think, and the more I'm learning about her personality, the more I'm thinking she's not very emotional. She holds it in. She's, she's lived through it all, and she's been holding this in for literally almost for longer than most people live. So she is good at bottling up and not revealing her feelings, and not. So I think all the more that she'd feel the lump in her throat and then swallow it back down again.
Yeah. She only cries alone.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. I think at this point I really don't have much to add. I'm relieved that you've altered the situation, the conditions under which the two men died in the previous book. It could have gone that way, where she just meant to hurt the other one and she was acting impulsively, or it could have gone another way where, I think you made the right choice. So well done on that. It leaves fewer questions in this book, and we can really focus on what's important, which is, when you do hold something like this in, at what cost do you do it? And what is the aftermath of the revelation? That's what we're here for. So I think and now the sky is the limit. So I'm really pleased about that turn of events, Pam. And I want to know more and more about Lenore. So.
Bardsy delivers the tools, guidance, and support you need to produce compelling novels. Our well-researched and thoroughly tested approach includes our minimum complete story, a 90-second exercise that keeps your writing on track while fueling creativity, Bardsy Publishability Index, a 23-dimension checklist that offers attainable goals and provides actionable feedback, and our brand new comprehensive character developer that helps you construct unforgettable characters. Come see for yourself at Bardsy.com today. Try our workshop or enter our first chapter contest. Then, when you're ready, Elite Membership delivers writing groups, personal coaching, and a curated community. With Bardsy, your work will captivate everyone, from agents to publishers, and, most importantly, your readers.
It could be frustrating, but by the same token, if you know what the goals are for the chapter and you're meeting those goals, even somebody who's jumping into the story will be able to